business. Is it a water purification business? I don't know what to, yes. It's called Clear. And a member of the Youth League, an active member of the Youth League, who started a business in a already very saturated sector. And the ANC Youth League, which ought to then be supportive of such initiatives, then goes to an event, and today again, we apologize, Comrade Mncedi. Okay, I see Comrade Lai is part of the marketing team. They brought their own water. but I'm making an example of the fact that part of our role as the ANC Youth League is to support you as young people who are in business, and ensuring that whatever policies that we advocate for are policies that are going to ensure that young people who are young entrepreneurs actually are able to access the kind of opportunities that they need to access, but also ensure that we do we advocate for policies that are going to make it easier for young people to do business and to flourish within the private sector. So that tomorrow, and I'm making this example because it's an easy example, we need R1 million to fund our Congress. He must not say, no, but Nina, when you have events, you don't buy my water. So our relationship is a relationship under which, in as much as we are going to come to you we're going to come to you and request for money, but our role then also becomes how do we ensure that we support members of the Youth League, those who think alike, to be able to prosper in business. But that's the subjective interest. It's our subjective interest, and it's your subjective interest as we have that relationship. But the objective interest is that when business flourishes, and you have ensured that you've created an environment under which we are able to grow the economy, grow our GDP, etc. We would have seen the latest job numbers. We are now being told that we are now actually at a point at which we were in terms of job creation, the post-COVID. Our numbers are now at the numbers of post-COVID, pre-COVID, sorry. When our numbers are at the point of pre-COVID, our GDP numbers are still not where they used to be. So there's number growth, but it's still not where it used to be. What does that mean? It means that you then have a situation wherein, even though there's minimal growth in terms of job creation, you are still not properly addressing the crisis of youth unemployment, which is one of the core struggles that the ANC Youth League is seized with as a champion for the interest of young people. So that's the objective interest. Now, when you have 50% youth unemployment, as we have right now, notwithstanding the minimal decrease that we've seen, you have 50% youth unemployment. Last I checked with the numbers, you have at least 70% graduate unemployment. You then have a looming crisis on your hands. What happens when you have a looming crisis on your hands? Young people start becoming agitated. When young people start becoming agitated, we go to the streets. When we go to the streets, we protest. When we protest, we shut down the city. When we shut down the city, you then can't do business. So it is therefore in the objective interest of all of us to work together to ensure that we address the challenges that we are facing, both at an organizational level by ensuring that we support initiatives of the ANC Youth League. This is the first of many, I must just say. I think after this, we are going to go to the golfers, those who know how to play golf, and say we're having a golf day. Please come and participate or sponsor. We're going to be having a gala dinner as well. But except for the events, there's nothing wrong in saying, Comrade Phoebe was actually just telling us this morning that actually she still donates to the Youth League on a monthly basis. Debit order. All of us here can decide to just have 500 Rand a month. We donate to the Youth League on a monthly basis. It will make a huge difference. So beyond the eventing, let's also talk about some of the things that we think, the other initiatives that can assist the ANC Youth League to be able to operate. Because the exercise of conferencing is actually quite expensive. We have explored various, we've tried to explore various options of having a very is the ANC of economic development. With all the economic challenges faced by young people, we felt it prudent to deploy a young person in such a strategic responsibility. Comrade Nomo Mnisi. Greetings to the other MMCs who are present here, who are also REC members, Comrade Eunice Mklina, Comrade Loso Masuku. Greetings to the leaders in the business space, our friends, our comrades. Greetings to the business community at large, and thank you very much for supporting us and being here today. I think from where we are, the coordinator and the convener have given quite an important input. Comrade SG, our coordinator, was taking our comrades in business through, and those who saw it fit to assist, donate, and support the Youth League. Where we are as a Youth League, the journey we're traveling in trying to ensure that we sit a national congress so that we can have a legitimate structure of the ANC Youth League, and the ANC Youth League can play the role that it's played historically in the revolution. The convener also then gave an input and some insights on why it's important for society, our friends in business, to support the ANC Youth League. So where we are now, I think before I call up the next speaker, I must just give a little bit on where the Youth League is in terms of where it is that we keep asking you to donate and support the ANC Youth League. You would have known that the ANC Youth League went through 2 liquidations. In fact, when we came into office as this NCPC, we came into a liquidated ANC Youth League. And it was under this leadership that we managed to get that liquidation order rescinded. So we are starting from zero. Because when we entered, we had nothing. Once you liquidated, you don't even own a pen. You had nothing to your name. We didn't even own the furniture in our office. So we started from zero. But since we came in, we've managed to settle most of our debts and our creditors. We've managed to sort out some of the historical issues, and of course the debt was historical. We've managed to sort that out. We've also decided we need to have some sort of turnaround strategy around the finances of the ANC Youth League. So it's this NIT team who took a decision to say perhaps we need to go back and relook at starting an investment arm of the ANC Youth League. Because when the ANC Youth League is financially independent from the ANC, don't want total independence, SG, please don't get us wrong. But when the ANC Youth League has financial capacity of its own, it's able to drive its programs and accelerate its work. Because it doesn't have to spend half the time looking for resources, asking the SG, hey, is it okay if you can fund us to this program because we want to merge to this comrade in NGO that does youth development, that helps our young people. And while it helps our young people, it conscientizes those people so that we bring our young people and they walk with us this journey of the National Democratic Revolution. So it's very important, comrades, that you bear with us, you're patient with us. We're starting from zero. We're trying to really bring the Youth League back to a point where it has financial capacity, a stature in society, and it has campaigns and programs that young people can identify with. But today, comrades, is also International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day. SG, I was just commending the appointment of the ANC in that it appointed 2 officials of the Youth League who are women. And then that structure then appointed an organizer who is a woman, a fundraiser who is a woman, and a spokesperson who is a woman. So happy Women's Day to all of us. We saw it fit today to call one of our own, Comrade Phoebe Popkita, who's an SG of the Youth League. She's also an NEC member of the ANC. She has exited her role as the GM, Umpati, at Luthuli House, and she has really kept Luthuli House together, and we commend her for her work. But we commend her as well for her role in the gender struggle. She's not just an activist who has played a pivotal part in youth formations and the struggle of our country, but she champions the gender struggle with excellence. She, of course, has not asked me to do this, or asked us to do this, but we must say she's written a book called Her Story. And that book is a compilation of stories of women in struggle. If I'm not mistaken, if I am, she'll correct me, because I'm yet to read it. We got one of our generous donors to procure some of the books, and she will generously be sharing those books with yourselves. So we're very excited to read the book, but we just thought we'd call her up to just give us a sense of the importance of the Youth League historically throughout the years, and remind us why this task is so important, and remind us that this task is not about the individuals, but it's about the organization. We don't want to go to a national congress to elect so-and-so. We want to go to a national congress so we can have our organization back. And so we thought maybe she could give us 1 or 2 on International Women's Day, but also just a little bit of insight into the historical role the Youth League has played in our revolution. Thank you very much.
The national convener and leadership of the NYTT, leadership of the Youth League from across the country, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Let me start off by wishing all of us a happy International Women's Day. It is a day that's celebrated across the globe by women, and it remembered the incident, I think it's nearly 100 years ago, when women workers in the US went on strike, demanding their rights. And since then, across the world, women celebrate and use this day internationally to highlight things like the gender pay gap, harassment at work, the right of women to participate in all sectors, and all of the issues that women face today. I was asked to very briefly speak about the evolution of the Youth League's policies on the economy and what it means today. So I'm going to be very brief, and hopefully you will go and read up on some of the documents that I will before them, you will have to define your own mission. Redefine your mission, affirm your mission, and then it's up to you to either achieve it or to betray it. Comrade Esther's generation did that, the generations of Comrade Peter Mokaba did that, the generations of Anton Lembede did that, and it's your time to define your mission as a generation. If we look at the formation of the Youth League in 1944, and the Youth League manifesto that was adopted at that founding Congress of the Youth League, it didn't just talk about national liberation. It actually said that part of the purpose of Congress Youth League is development, progress, and national liberation. And I found it very interesting that we start off with development, we then go to progress, which is about transformation, and only then do we add national liberation. And it's just a sign that from the onset, the Youth League recognized the importance of this link between political liberation and economic emancipation. And I think it's something that we need to learn from that generation. The other thing that the Congress Youth League 1944 manifesto also say is that the ANC Youth League needs to be the brain trust of the ANC. Now, it says that the ANC Youth League needs to be militant, it needs to be radical, but it also must be the brain trust of the country. And part of what the 26th Congress need to look at is how do we retain that position as the brain trust of the South African people and of the African National Congress and progressive forces. In 1940-41, the first president of the Youth League, Anton Lembede, whose picture is to the, or portrait is to the left, addressed the Congress of the Orange Free State African Teachers Association. And one of the things that he say is that the ANC Youth League and young people are responsible for a philosophy of action. And the context of saying that young people in South Africa must have a philosophy of action was that he was complaining, and it sounded as if he was talking of today. He was complaining about the fact that the African Teachers Association adopts a resolution, wonderful policy, but the problem is implementation. And he said to the young people of the time, young teachers, young students, that Congress Youth League needs to embrace a philosophy of action. A couple of years later, 1954, one of the founders of the Youth League, Ida Mtwana, at that point she was the president of the ANC Women's League, as well as president of the Federation of South African Women. And they had a congress of FETSO at the time, 1954, and adopted the first women's charter a whole year before the ANC adopted the Freedom Charter. And what they said in that women's charter, as driven by Ida Mtwana, was that the women are fighting side by side with men in order for the struggle against poverty, the struggle against racial oppression, the struggle against class, and the struggle against women's oppression. So again, today, you young woke women and men talks about intersectionality. Already in 1954, Ida Mtwana, a youth leaguer, spoke about, in the Women's Charter, about the importance of the intersectionality between issues of class, gender, as well as national oppression, and how we need to ensure in our policies that we take that forward. The 1970s generation of Steve Biko, Tenjere Mtinso, and others also saw the importance of this link, so that when they talked about Black consciousness, they talked about self-reliance. They said to students at Fort Hare University and elsewhere that before we are students, we are members of an oppressed communities, and that is why across the country they formed self-help associations, they formed not-for-profits, they formed newspapers, they formed all sorts of different associations to be able to carry forward this theme of self-reliance. In 1998, after the 1994 breakthrough, the ANC Youth League, and I think that at the time I was still in the Youth League, it feels like very, very long time ago, Comrade Chief of Staff Langazita was also in the Youth League at the time, Comrade SG. I don't know whether there's anybody else from my generation here. I don't see any faces. But in 1998, so it's strange to be the oldest person in the room for a change. But in 1998, the ANC Youth League adopted a policy which was called Investing in the Future, a youth employment strategy. And I think it's very important in the context of what the convener said about the levels of youth unemployment that we face today. And I think that your generation must go back to that document and look at whether it's possible to get some lessons from that. That youth employment strategy had 4 pillars, and it looked at, for example, the need to improve aggregate demands for jobs, so to transform the economy, that you can't address youth unemployment unless you transform the economy. The second issue is the question about skills, a skills revolution. The third issue is about supporting youth entrepreneurship and youth cooperatives. And then the fourth one was to do with special programs like the National Youth Service programs to address young people's employability. Now, part of the policy also talk about monetary policy and the need for monetary policy to not just look at inflation, but also job creation. It looked at industrialization and all of those things as part of improving aggregate demand for labor so that young people can also be employed. So we need to look at that. And last but not least, and I'm about to sit down, Comrade Eshi, is the Youth League 24th Congress of 2011 that sat under the slogan of Action for Economic Emancipation in Our Lifetime, and look at 7 pillars for economic transformation and the achievement of economic emancipation. It talked about land reform, it talked about industrialization, it spoke about issues of inclusive growth, decentralization, the development of township economies, and I'm sure you can look at all of those 7, as well as the link of the South African economy to the regional economy of SADC, but also the African economy. We now have the African Continental Free Trade Area. Are we forming joint businesses with young people in the DRC, in Egypt, in Ghana, in Cote d'Ivoire, to be able to make sure that we make use of all this? As I conclude, the Youth League is going towards its 26th national conference. Next year, we will have 30 years of democracy. In sociology, 30 years is 2 generations. It's 2 generations of young people that have to say what exactly is the future of this country going forward for the next 30 years. What have we achieved? What were the challenges of the last 30 years? What will your generation do differently? And to then be able to determine your generational mission. Because as Frans Fanon said, to repeat what I said earlier, that every generation will have to determine its mission, which it either must achieve or which it must betray. And as we fundraise for the 26th National Congress of the ANC Youth League, we look forward towards the Youth League defining that mission for economic emancipation, not just for yourself and future generations, but also to inspire the older generation. Malibongwe.
Malibongwe. Igama lamakhosikazi. Comrades, this is the copy of our SG's book, Comrade Phoebe Porgita. When we leave, it's on the table. Please make sure before you leave, you do take a copy. It's very important that we try our level best to ensure that our women are not erased from our history books, because history has a tendency of telling history through a patriarchal lens. And so we must make sure that we ensure that we read the book, but we pass it on, or rather, we buy a copy because it's self-published. So we buy a copy, we promote the book, because when we promote the book, we're promoting women and we're promoting our history and our contribution in our revolution, in our history. So it's very important that we spread the word. Here is the book. morning right until 10 p.m. because that is how much the SG loves the Youth League. And that is how committed the SG is to ensuring that the Youth League is relaunched and goes to a national congress. So if our SG, who is no longer a member of the Youth League, who is our president in the Youth League, can be so committed that he leaves all demand. We're as committed as well. Because it's through the Youth League that we can infuse radical policies to the ANC. The last Congress that really made its mark in terms of policy formulation was the one where we declared economic freedom in our lifetime. And I think we always quote that and remember that and the 7 cardinal pillars, because it reflects the ability of the Youth League to be able to identify the challenges in our society and propose solutions. But if we don't have a vehicle in which to do that, it becomes very difficult, which is why we see our young people loitering the streets, they're consuming drugs and alcohol, they're unemployed, they're not productive. It's not because they want the situation to be like that. It's because there's no Youth League to agitate and ensure that these young people are being roped into active citizenry and economic participation. And so we're still calling for economic freedom. I remember our commissar, head of political education, Comrade Banda, said it's actually economic freedom now or never. That is what young people are calling for now. And we correctly identified that the hurdle or the enemy of our revolution is white monopoly capital. I raise this because when you look around and you see who supports us, it's small to medium businesses, SG. Those are progressive businesses that support the ANC Youth League. Big business does not support the ANC Youth League. And because of that situation, the big business remains male in the main, it remains white in the main, and they don't do their. Also, there's no reason why we should have only 5 major construction companies in the country, only 3 telecoms companies in the country, only 2 companies that produce paper, Mandi and Sapi. Ask us now what's in there to chop wood and produce paper. So there's absolutely no reason why we are struggling to really deal with monopolies in our economy. And we're not saying we don't want all monopolies. There are monopolies that are important. The state must have monopolies to deal with basic services. We want the state to have a monopoly on electricity. We want the state to have monopoly on certain services that make sure that they service our people, like your postal services, water, etc. We're not saying we're against monopolies as a whole. We're saying we're against white monopoly capital. When you go to the JSE, how many JSE listed companies are black owned, black controlled, black managed? It's less than 10%, I'm sure. And we don't count companies who have funding from the PIC. We want direct ownership. And we don't have that. And we need to. And it's worse when you even look at youth participation in those black companies, women participation. And so these are some of the issues that stifle our development, that stifle our economy to an extent that, you know, if you only have 3 companies in telecoms, there's only so many people 3 companies can employ. So we cry about unemployment. Of course there's going to be unemployment because we're dealing with monopolies. Let's break the monopolies. Let's open up our economy so that it reflects the demographics of the country. Let's ensure that we're actually beneficiating. We're not exporting our minerals and buying them back. And we've been singing this song for years and years and years, but we need a youth league that can continue to agitate and ensure that we are realizing progress in beneficiation, in ensuring, because when you beneficiate, you also create jobs. When you dig, you take out gold, you sell it raw, you're also exporting those jobs, because when you sell it raw, someone overseas is going to process it. Someone's going to be employed there. So we're actually exporting jobs. Anyway, it's just to say we really need a national congress, because we really need an ANC Youth League, because our young people are in the streets, they are not economically active, and we need to change that tide. The ANC, well, young people are growing impatient with the ANC, and we don't want that situation. We will put our all in ensuring that we work, and the SG was very correct. We must not, when he told us yesterday that we must not wait for elections, the campaigns to start. We are starting now. We're starting to win elections now. And we're giving you our word, SG, that we will ensure that we do our best to rally young people behind the banner of the ANC. But we would do even better if they had a legitimate ANC Youth League leadership that was elected, and that could really, really focus on championing their interests. I think with that, the reason why we asked the SG to speak on ANC economic policy and how that relates to the prevailing economic challenges faced by our young people was precisely because these are some of the issues that we're grappling with. Also, people in business, they struggle to support us. Sometimes they want to support us, but they're struggling. Their businesses are struggling. They have their own grievances. They need a platform like the ANC Youth League that can hear those grievances and bring them to the ANC and try to collectively come up with those solutions. So just with that, I would like to welcome our president, our current SG of the ANC. He has led in so many various capacities. He was the SG of the ANC. I'm not going to go in all of them, they are well known, but he was the SG of the ANC Youth League. He was then the president of the ANC Youth League. He served the ANC as an NEC member and a minister in cabinet in various portfolios. But currently now, he is full-time in the ANC. He is our SG, Comrade Ufikile Mbalula, otherwise other people call him Uraz Matas. Siphethu nobala, siphethu nobala, ngekhontente. 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 Siphethu nobala, siphethu nobala, ngekhontente.
Amanda. Thank you. Thank you very much, Program Director Tutu, the convener of the ANC Youth League Interim Committee or NYTT, the coordinator, and all members of the NYTT. Comrade Gambu Langazita, our Chief of Staff in the office of the Secretary General at Luxury House. Comrade Langazita is a communist. He's a member of the Central Committee of the Communist Party. He comes from the youth movement and also the South African Youth Congress, the one and only militant organization of the youth of South Africa. Freedom or death, victory certain. Comrade Phoebe Potgieter, our commissar. So when you say Banda is the commissar, so this is the first. Phoebe was a member of the Central Executive Committee of the South African Youth Congress. She hails from Humansdorp, a small town, plus Japi, you know, in the Eastern Cape. one of the few women who served in the South African Youth Congress alongside Dipuo Peters, Fake Mentor, may soul rest in peace. It's not actually our reflection. Fake. May soul rest in peace. Phoebe was a political commissar. When we relaunched the Youth League, she worked with Fusima Fundela in the Department of Political Education. Fusima Fundela and who? Yeah, Ephraim Nkwe. There was one man who passed away, they called him Ephraim Nkwe. He was our political commissar and political education in South African Youth Congress. That guy was something else. Ephraim Nkwe. He passed away. And then Phoebe became our Secretary General of the Youth League. And then we served under her. And then I succeeded Phoebe as the Secretary General. And now she chose to leave the country and went to African Union to work with Mamu Nkosazana, Dlamini Zuma. And then she came back and worked at Luthuli House as a general manager. Most of you know her as a general manager. She studies a lot. She's very passionate about education. She's in fact a doctor, but she never calls herself doctor. But people who get honorary degrees, they parade them left and right. When you ask doctor, no, honorary, honored. So the person who was speaking to you here, she's a doctor, not in Bombay. Now she's back, she's in the NEC, and then she deals on a full-time basis with policy and research. So under Phoebe, we are going to establish a policy institute of the African National Congress. And it's going to be vibrant in terms of ideas and so on. So these are the people who are here. So they are not here by mistake. We have invited the right people. If you've invited Phoebe and all other comrades. So that is our link with the past as we destined for the future. And I think it's quite clear, like I said yesterday to the comrades of the Youth League, that we do have political talent in the Youth League. Don't look elsewhere. You know, somebody's looking for a lover elsewhere. You are looking for Youth League leadership. Nance, you hear Tutu when she speaks here. And then if you are very allergic as an old person, you will think that the world is falling apart. That's what we need in the ANC, because as you grow up, you reach inertia. You stop thinking. Your role is to stop others from thinking. No, comrade, no. That is not the way to go. You must know those ones are just selling out. They are very tolerant to new ideas. So we are no longer used to this thinking in the organization convener. I know you are very militant there with Joy in that NEC, but I will remove you very soon, don't worry. They don't like that topic. And then when I was with them yesterday, they were talking about disbandment. I said, why do you disband? We don't disband, we just reshuffle. We don't disband, there is no structure here. And we are moving towards a conference. And I'm very confident, Comrade Phoebe, that the Youth League will get to conference. And we must all be determined to get the Youth League to conference. And I'm very happy today to attend such a successful event of the Youth League. And I see the passion, the energy, the enthusiasm. And this train is led by young women. So many young women in the Youth League, in the forefront. And that is quite encouraging in our organization. So the fundraising business breakfast takes place at a time when the country is grappling with devastating effects of intermittent electricity supply. I saw the Minister of Electricity, I jive in a chair, full of life, Dr. Ramhoba. I hope we'll call him Mr. Electricity, because he's going to resolve this problem for us. This electricity supply, which is negatively affecting businesses and leading others to close, thus contributing to rampant joblessness among the youth. This unfortunate precipice happens at a time when the economy is gradually recovering from COVID-19. The primary preoccupation by all social partners around a just and inclusive economic recovery also provides the youth, young business people, public policy makers and academics provide an opportunity to reignite the discourse on the effective implementation of the targeted industrial policy interventions that are premised on evidence-based research that inputs on economic growth, productivity, and employment, and thus leading to the economic regeneration of South Africa. As the movement, we are conscious that despite the economic successes and a broad range of state policies, strategies, and program interventions aimed at overcoming economic disparities and entrenched inequalities continue to characterize the economy and act as a deterrent to growth. Economic development, employment creation, and poverty eradication. Vast racial and gender inequalities in the distribution of and access to wealth, income, skills, and employment persist. As a consequence, comrades, our economy continues to perform below its full potential. As an example of this, our government in Gauteng have promulgated the Township Economic Development Act, TEDA, to unleash the economic potential of our townships for the benefit of its citizens, especially the young entrepreneurs. It is in this context that our economic redistribution efforts will find practical impetus. Furthermore, we must commend the ANC-led Gauteng provincial government for promoting localization through the setting aside of 22 products that should be sourced locally. These initiatives are efforts that seek to strengthen the participation of young business people in the mainstream economy and using public procurement as a driver of the inclusive benefit and building of local capabilities. We understand that at the heart of this epoch of industrial revolution in various parts of the world was a clear intervention by the state in partnership with all social partners in a social compact to drive the industrial development agenda within a set industrial policy that embraced R&D and innovation and well-supported entrepreneurship. As matters stand, our host province, Gauteng, is also committed to ensure that 60% of their procurement of goods and services should be from township and youth-owned enterprises. This commitment directly benefits the youth and positions townships as nodes of industrialization and economic development. People are not going to eat slogans. Our contribution to addressing youth unemployment is both theoretical and practical. When you talk about the intervention of skills revolution in addressing unemployment among the youth in our country, that youth unemployment Phoebe was talking about led to the intervention by government to rolling out what we call learnerships. And that was the contribution directly by the ANC Youth League. And we donated that to the National Youth Commission. And they championed that particular cause. And yesterday, I was talking about the disengaged youth, which is the problem of the South African youth. The cohort of young people who fall wayside and they don't have any hope any further in terms of studies and any other thing. So they are there in the township. They are there in their millions in numbers. What are we going to do about it? We championed the massification of National Youth Service. And Trevor Manuel did not want to implement that, and he gave us 1 billion rand. And that 1 billion rand is what we launched Umsobo with. And that was the end. But policy-wise, what are we doing in terms of intervention? We can march, we can do everything. Revolution requires something more sophisticated than just a march. Especially because you are the youth league of the ruling party. You must give us ideas. You must research. We must not just come up with ideas and then just dump them and say we are addressing the problem of youth unemployment. We want those ideas from the youth league and from the youth of our country. How do you envisage that we address the issue of unemployment of youth, which does not affect South Africa only? Advanced economies in Europe, Germany, United States, in Africa, Nigeria, they are leading when it comes to national youth service programs. Here we talk about the parochial implementation of national youth service in some departments. How minister clever? I'm implementing youth service here. You'll see these ministers who have just reshuffled now. They are going to come with new ideas that are not sustainable, and then that's where Phoebe comes in to say that look, don't run too fast. Implement what you already have on your plate and finish it. Because they are going to come with ideas. You want to do 100 things in a very short space of time. It's not going to happen. And you know government red tape and processes. So that's where Phoebe is going to come. We build capacity at Luthuli House so that we are able to tell a minister that you are not working. Yeah, we see you on TV, but you are not working. You are not addressing the fundamentals yet. The problem is that we sloganize too much, and then we don't deal with the practical and show our comrades in government that you are not doing anything, you are not moving. And if Luthuli House doesn't have that capacity, we are not going to transform this country. We are just going to be told by clever civil servants who work for ministers that this is the direction. And then the minister reads a speech like as if, no, this thing is well researched. It's a desktop arrangement. Person sits there, and then we think we are transforming the state, whereas we are not. So I'm speaking because I know that experience. And if you are not hands-on as a minister, that's what they do to you in government. And then they tell you, they make you look smart. And the agenda of transformation that is supposed to be led by the ANC in government is not happening. So when we meet, each and every Lekhota, Phoebe will stand there and analyze ministries and government performance. And we will show them that they are moving ahead or they are not. And Tutu speaks here, beneficiation. What are we doing? Trade and industry. I hear you complain about Patel. But I've never heard you say, what is it that Patel is doing that is not right? We are in charge. Let us not complain who have got no hope. You've got no faith. And so on. You just cry endlessly. You must have faith. At least believe in God or something. That uthixo khona izinto zizawulunga. Ungakhali endlessly like things will never come right. We come and complain like we are not in charge. We're in charge. Sipete. We are in charge. I will call ministers at Lutuli House. You know now there is a problem at vets. I'm going to convene a meeting. Why do we have a problem of financial exclusions? What is the problem with NSFAS? We must provide answers. Those answers are not going to come from the opposition. They just stole our ideas, Malema, and he ran with them and opened the party. And he says 7 cardinal points. That was the Youth League resolution. As much as it was drafted by Floyd, but Floyd just ran with it. Wankanayo. We know those cardinal points were drafted by Floyd for the Youth League conference and was adopted. And you called for economic emancipation, economic freedom in our lifetime. And you ran with it. And then they formed a political party. And others are now forming another political party called RET. They just take our ideas and run with them and form political parties around them. We are in charge, comrades. We are in charge. We must provide leadership. And then those who don't perform, I want to repeat, their days are numbered. Their days are numbered. You don't perform. You don't perform, you are out. We're going to do a research now on the issue of local government and put a barometer and look at these municipalities and then intervene and announce what are we doing. On coalitions, we are going to make a determination about are we still on track in terms of the coalition. Makura is leading that discussion. Tomorrow we are going to a strat plan as Lutuli House. So Puma Pasifutumli Lope. Because everything is done now. The Khotla is done, government and the ANC. Cabinet reshuffle is done. Resolutions of conference are done. We've briefed the structures. The next question before us is, what is the plan of action? What are we doing when we wake up every day and go to Lutuli House? What are we coordinating? That is where we are, and we can't leave the Youth League behind. So the United Nations says no one must be left behind. And then we must not leave anybody behind ourselves in what we're doing. Now, comrades, the long and short of what I'm talking to you about, I'm very, very, very much energized to see the path the Youth League is taking. I'm not patronizing you. The things you quarrel about, you must fix them. They are not fundamental. Likhuku nje isigezo funeka nisibekele bucala and focus. Yanicela. We don't sleep well when we wake up every day. The Youth League is not in existence. And then we only want you when we want votes. Ndiyabulela ngokuthi ninivotele. nabangandivotelanga andina-problem ngayo. Nena ihloniphi into ukuthi bendisazi noba umdundi bethile power uphumulo na-youth league ihamba nam till the end. So you can't abandon your product. You can't. Nobody ngaba 50, but my branch is the youth league. So no Phoebe knows that. It's the youth league and everyone else, you know. And even our thinking is like that. Duane Chitenze once said, don't leave your generation behind. Hamba nabo. Even myself, kule post ndikuyo, ndiyabalwela nje, ndiyabafaka osihle ngokufitshane. I don't think that. Because that's us. We are what? Siyabafaka nje. Yeah, simnike into enkulu simsikele engalindanga ndim lo madoda. Because that is the Secretary General of the Youth League. Ningayenzi le nto xa niphathayo nicimzela abanye abantu and then leave them behind. Noba kunjani kubi, but just remember that's the Youth League. And that's my blood. So we're going to move, comrades. And to defend the ANC is now on our hands. And to make it a point that we march to victory in 2024 is in our hands. Don't look somewhere. It's here in this room. The ideas that are going to emancipate our people from poverty and unemployment are going to come from us. Don't look somewhere, Uguti. These ideas, they must come from here, among us. And we must provide leadership. When people protest, we must come with solutions. That's how we're going to lead this ANC. We must go very soon to Soweto and answer the issue of electricity. With that minister who's dancing, like, he's got a very good energy. Scooter. At least now I'm happy I've got a minister I can go with to Soweto. Comrade Phoebe, you know how difficult it was to get a minister to Soweto. And the president has got to run around like he doesn't have ministers. Now very soon it is a move. Ukuthi aba bantu kuba appointela ntoni mhlekazi xa ingathi nguwe obenzela umsebenzi. You can't have a minister of transport and akaziwa. And transport problems addresswa ngupresident. Uphi minister? You can't have a minister of sports, arts and culture. And the president kuyofuneka jikeleze everywhere, Grammy Awards, yonke lo. No. President must give cups in stadiums. Of course, it's social cohesion. President akufuneka ngaqine grid. Funeka abe loose njengela electricity. Abonakaliso nayo ukuthi nokho ngumuntu wenyama. Angabi stay upresident funeka abe loose. Abonakalisa ukuthi kunzima kodwa siyaphambili. You can't have a minister of energy and then you don't know whether there is a minister there or not. President must be the one who addresses issues. No. Ministers must jack up their act. You don't work, we will be sitting on you. Not with rhetoric or hatred of just having the love to reshuffle people. No. With facts. That, comrade, we have given you this mandate. And then this is the plan. How far are you? We've got a strategic task this year. Things that we said we are going to do. By June, me and Phoebe, we must go to the ANC Lekgotla and say, have we done the things that we said we will do this year? And how far? Don't come with some clever hate, new things again. No. There are things we have agreed. Go and read our Lekgotla bulletin. Sputla is going to tell us what is he doing about load shedding. Is he making headways and all of that? We'll come back to that. And look at this and all other ministers. This thing that ministers are loose, they are not held accountable by the parties because the ANC has been weak at Luthuli House. Very weak. We just stay in government. Silandela lonke itshiwoyo. Nespeech zethu mos uyazibona singorhulumente. We just follow what government is doing. We have the responsibility to hold comrades accountable and focus them to life, bring them to life. So that they must not have a good time there. Knowing very well that this post, Dawhamba Mshana Funai, guaranteed. Funeki comrade ibizo uyixelele ukuthi awusebenzi mhlekazi. Siyakubona TV mara awusebenzi. You are not focused. Ungavele TV kaninzi, but let's tick. What are you moving there? The same as these mayors, zethu zisiphoxayo and so on. Ezinye zeze youth league mayor. No, as is put as a youth league, but it's in mayors corner up. I comrades, the truth be told, some of our comrades are letting us down. They are letting us down in a big way. And we must never camouflage that. And I'm happy when you say there is an MMC, economic development, youth. Youth must be defined by energy and ideas. You must have the edge in terms of reaching out to the people against your, if you judge yourself against your opponents. We must have an edge. These people are just dreaming that they will defeat the ANC. They are just hyping it every day. But it's not going to be easy for them to defeat the ANC. The only way they can defeat the ANC is because of us. Our laxity, our failure to do things right. And that is what this moment requires of us, to do things right. And in that way, we are going to have the edge. Let's not argue with people who are saying we're going to be defeated. And the polls that are polling us at 39, they should be polling us at 25%. So that we can jack up our act. Our communication with our people and communication with society, communication with our structures must be revamped in a big way. Our government doesn't communicate. We are almost at the point where we have accepted that we are a failed state. When we have done so much. Even some of our comrades are now singing the tune that we have failed. You know, comrades, let me just take you, I don't know the statistics, but we have massively electrified this country. We are let down by load shedding. We have electrified this country, including in the rural areas. There was darkness there. The ANC government have made electricity accessible to our people. That's why people of the rural areas can also feel the pinch of load shedding, because the ANC brought light to them. Load shedding is a big challenge, but we have electrified this country. We have given homes to the homeless. Above 4 million, I think, in these 30 years. And we're still going. Giving people RDP houses. That's what we've done. Our program of water has reached out to the indigenous people in the townships. Yet we are faced with the biggest problem ever of urbanization. Here in Joburg, there is a squatter camp every 10. Where do those people come from? We've got to put up ablution facilities, do all of those things, and then classify them in terms of their income, that you will not pay anything. So much liters of water, you get them free of charge. Our people don't pay. This government adopted a policy, not just of giving people grants, but we've got a policy that look after the indigent people in this country. Massive. To the point where people who are poorer, they've got water taps in their yards. They don't pay for particular liters of water in terms of government. That policy came with us. And they're still benefiting today. We've almost accepted that we did nothing in 30 years. ANC government did nothing. We have lost power. We changed and tarred the roads in Soweto. We lost power, we lost the rhythm. There's potholes now everywhere here in Johannesburg. They write on those potholes ANC, but ANC is not in power. They write ANC. We lost power with Pakistan and Sputla Ramkho. We lost power. No Sputla, no vote. We lost power there to the DA. But they boldly, their propaganda, they boldly write around Joburg. Where you see a pothole, they write ANC. We might have done many things wrong, but we never failed to close potholes in Johannesburg. We closed them. Amos Masondo, Parkstar, we closed potholes here. We have almost accepted that everything bad has come with us. And then in comparison to apartheid, we are the worst. Our people didn't have electricity, didn't have water, didn't have houses. Under apartheid, that backlog is the backlog of the ANC. In 30 years, they want this country to have surpassed even the developing nations. And when you look at our society in terms of numbers and growth, the numbers are growing. We were, what? Below 49 million people. We're almost 60 now, million. It's here 7. South Africa. I just said that this population is growing. We are second. Now we're talking about the two young people, Abama 2000s, who have got no connection with what we have done here in this country. A person stand boldly inside an RDP house and say, "And Baboni Benza." Yes. Utetinyani Lois. Fumani grant akothemba kubantu bakuthi we're not building a nanny state, but we have to intervene. And I was saying to the Youth League yesterday, unemployment is not going to be done away with slogans, but we need your contribution. I was saying to the Youth League yesterday, 350 we give to people. Take how much we are spending, billions of rands. Take those billions and invest in a sustainable national youth service program. How many unemployed youth who are going to benefit, who are going to be skilled, who don't have a matric grade 12, nothing. They are sitting there in the township, take 10 billion rand, invest it in a program called National Youth Service Program. Take those young people, who some says it's a lost generation. We don't agree. Marginalized youth, they used to call us, right? We said we are not marginalized. We are the youth of conscience and substance. And then you take that 10 billion rand, you invest it in that, champion that cause, fight for it. stop handouts, 350, right? And then that 350 Mahlale will be able to be in a position to become something. By the time he finishes the National Youth Service Program, that person will be a different human being. You get a stipend, you are on a National Youth Service Program, you get skilled, you can get employment anyway. That's what countries do. We exposed the youth of South Africa to other countries as well, to go and do youth service programs there. The problem of our people, they don't know. Some of them have not even reached Tanzania. They've never been to Tanzania. And when you travel in the world and you travel in Africa, you realize where I come from was his paradise. South Africa, where I come from, paradise. We've got a problem here, next door, in Zimbabwe. And nobody is prepared to help us about it. The Americans have shut down Zimbabwe and the British. They agreed in Lancaster to give Mugabe 42 million pounds, billions I'm sure, to address the program of land redistribution in Zimbabwe. They didn't. They didn't come to the party. Willing seller, willing buyer program. We learned from Zimbabwe. Up until Mugabe started to grab land. And then they had the biggest pretext to attack Zimbabwe because they want regime change in Zimbabwe. That is their policies there. They've done it in Iraq, they've done it in Afghanistan, they've done it everywhere. They said they've got weapons of mass destruction. I saw Bush the other day, that Ubambeki Satan. And then he was criticizing Putin. And then he made a mistake and mentioned Iraq. And he says there is one man, he takes a decision to attack another country, Iraq. And then he realized, hey, it's me, Moses. Check that clip. W. Bush. He said they are shameless. They are shameless. Even Mandela criticized him and said he's mad. And then Saddam Hussein kept on saying that their tombstones will be erected here. We said, wait, you don't have capacity. We told him, Saddam, wait. Let's get the United Nations to resolve this thing. He claimed things he did not have, threatening him. And then during the day of Dubula Pezulu Saddam, it didn't take Americans long to get rid of him. And then he was hanged, daylight, like a dog. They found him. And they dealt with him. But to us, that was not the solution, because we emphasize multilateralism. That's when we had a problem with Americans and their unilateral approach. And then they used the same pretext, and then they went and killed Gaddafi. There is no country now there in Libya. There's no country there. It's war after war. Some of them came there to Tuli House and they demanded that we must give them their money. You know, there's a lot of Libyan money here in this country. Yeah, they wanted that money. They wanted it from the Tuli House. They came all the way from Tripoli to here. Here we said, no, we can't give you this money. Oh, there is no government there. They killed Muammar Gaddafi, they killed Saddam Hussein, and they went to Afghanistan, they packed and left. What else have they done? We're all against terrorism. We fight terror, because terror is a backward ideology. But we don't subscribe to destabilize countries and undermine sovereignty of nation states. We don't agree with that. We've got a problem here in Zimbabwe and it's brewing. And you think it's going to be the problem of the Americans, it's going to be our problem for the longest of time. We're building what is called the client state right next door. And it is built by the enforcement of the Americans, because Americans will never, because they want removal of ZANU-PF. They want Nelson Chamisa. Nelson Chamisa, MDC. He claims he has won elections every year. And he has not won. Yeah, they want Nelson Chamisa and the MDC. They formed it in Zimbabwe. Naganga toppled Mugabe and he thought that is the best solution ever. Toppling Mugabe, and that was it. And then they still did not change. They say, no, nothing is changing there. He even had a very educated governor of the Reserve Bank and the Minister of Finance who's speaking English left and right and so on. Very good comrade. But they have not changed. Because what do they want in Zimbabwe? They want regime change. What is facing us now? Zimbabweans are crossing Zimbabwe coming to South Africa. Because in Zimbabwe, there is no bread. I went to Zimbabwe as a minister, and then I saw spare. I was so hungry, and then I really thought I'm going to have a good time. I went to Spare. You know Spare? I just imagined hot wings. And then when I got there, hey, this guy is giving me a roll as a starter. We forget to microwave the roll. Yeah, we back up, and then I see that it is soft and hot. It might lean. After about 10 minutes, I go back to that roll. It was like a stone. So there's no fresh bread that goes to Zimbabwe. There's no bread there. I went to the police downtown in Johannesburg, Louis, in Johannesburg. And the buildings there, they are occupied by Zimbabweans. I was with the police. I asked them, documentation, Dolo. Young people and all of that. There's nothing there in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe used to be the breadbasket of the African continent. Zimbabweans never crossed the river to come here and face crocodiles. They never. They were living there in peace and all of that, and then they are now hit by sanctions. And they blame it on the Mugabe's program of land redistribution, when they did not come to the party. In Lancaster, they made resolutions there. The British, we will give you land and will compensate you. They did not. Tony Blair, that is why Mugabe was calling him Tony Blair, liar. That's what Mugabe was calling him. He agreed, and then they did not come to the party. President Mbeki was facilitating that thing. They insulted him, they call it a quiet diplomacy, it's too costly. And when Mugabe implemented forced land reform in Zimbabwe, they all ran this other side. And they took over the farms there in Zimbabwe. Now if you go to Bulawayo, you go to Harare, you go to Chino, in all those particular areas, it's like, I don't know what. Disinvestment. Nothing is happening there in Zimbabwe. The whole country is in South Africa. Yes. The whole country is here. They are working here as domestic workers. Well educated. Mugabe educated his people. That's what he did. Lift the sanctions in Zimbabwe. Lift the sanctions in Zimbabwe, then we will not have a problem of Zimbabweans coming to our country. The whole country is here. Gulola, Lumaluma, Kumtakwabo, everything is here. They cross. They cross. I saw them crossing daylight when I was minister at Bay Bridge. They cross, they swim across to come to this country. And yet the Americans and the British still insist on regime change. So they don't care. And then they tell us we must take sides in Ukraine and Russia. Ngento baziqalele yona. Andifuna ungena kuloo nto. Bayiqalile. And then they tell us that we must take sides. We can't take sides there. We are non-aligned. And it must stay like that. We can't take sides in that war. So they want us to take sides. In terms of that, we are non-aligned, and that's what we are doing there. And our government must continue to do what it is supposed to do, to work for peace. And even those who are pro-Ukraine, they must talk to them. And the president must do that. He's got our support. And Americans must give peace a chance. That includes NATO. We need a round table there to resolve that problem of Russia. We need a round table. We need negotiations, peaceful negotiations. That includes Palestine. We must address the problem of Palestine with the Israelis. But also never create an impression that in Israelis there are no people who want to peace and live side by side with an independent Palestine. We must work with those people in Israel. Comrades, I was the president of the international, as I conclude, for 10 years, of International Union of Socialist Youth. When Yasser Arafat died, I was in Jericho, having a meeting with Said Barakat and the Israelis, negotiating for peace, and the Norwegians in Palestine. I was staying in Ramallah, West Bank and Gaza. So I know what it means to be a refugee in your own land. I know what it means. The Palestinians want to be independent. That war will end the day the Palestinians are granted their own self-determination. We know that there are people in Israel who work against this and want permanent occupation based on 1967 borders. That argument is tired. We need peace then. When we're almost on the brink of clinching peace, both sides declared going to war. And we advised the Fatah movement in Palestine that the second intifada is not a solution to the problem. And Fatah lost power to Hamas in Palestine, which is most radical. And Likud and the most reactionary people have taken over Israel. So there is a standoff. Bombs after bombs. Fatah and the PLO, Yasser Arafat political party, lost power. The Labour Party in Israel lost power. Now it's only the radicals there who believe ukuthi mabanye sinye back and forth. There is no solution. And then in America, nobody has become a solution in terms of that. It ended with Clinton and Camp David, when we're almost on the brink of reaching a solution. We must work with the Israelis and the Palestinians to find a peaceful solution in the Middle East. And we in the ANC, we are not changing our position. We want the self-determination of the Palestinian people. That's what we want. And we want a two-state solution, living side by side, at peace with each other. That's what we want. And we must not tire. We will go to Palestine, we will go to Israel as the ANC and talk to them, because we ourselves, we are an important example of a negotiated settlement here in South Africa. We wanted to get into Pretoria with guns and mortar and everything else and remove the Pretoria regime. We didn't. We had to settle. But the combination of mass struggles and everything and the armed struggle rattled the apartheid regime. They came running to the negotiating table. And that's what has happened. So the solution in Palestine cannot be that. The same as Morocco. The same as Morocco in terms of the Sahrawi people in Western Sahara. We want the self-determination. We support the people of Western Sahara. And that's what we want. That's what we strive for. So, comrades, we cannot do all of these things as the ANC without a strong ANC Youth League. And as I conclude, I want to comment, this is no longer breakfast, it's brunch now. Your branch has been fantastic. And then I said, when he said, I asked how much do you donate for a table, I said, no, I want to donate this much. You see, I'm going to donate with my pension because, and it will take time, because after my retirement in government, for me to get a pension, it will take some time. So, to get it, but I'm going to donate to the youth league. And I want to assure you, comrades, that we are going to work with you. And we will not put, and I hope you have done the work I've asked you to do last night, so that when we go to the NWC, you can give us that report. But it will not just be a report, we must work very hard to get to conference. We will be very proud this year to get to the Youth League conference. And conferences, you prepare for them. And one thing for sure, I failed with everyone else who was put in the Youth League trust team that was disbanded. To do what Tutu was talking about here. The Youth League was liquidated. And then we didn't. And then they have achieved that. And that is very good. And your strategies in terms of fundraising are very much encouraging. Here in the Youth League, we've got a reservoir of political talent. And I listen to them all the time. I say, when we unleash this weapon of mass destruction, South Africa is not ready for this. And it is coming. And you are going to see it. And I'm very much encouraged by this work that you are doing, and we're very much excited about that. Let us lead the youth struggles, comrades. You've got our support. Let's resolve vets. Let's resolve financial exclusions. Let us be at the center. The ANC, informed by the Youth League and the PYA, must resolve those issues. I've made a commitment that we're going to convene the ministers and everyone involved on this financial exclusion. And then we want a solution on that. And I am going to put that issue of financial exclusion on the agenda of the NWC. So that everybody else there, after we've met, we put it on the agenda. And the Youth League will lead that particular process to ensure that we find a solution for all the students in this country. Yeah. And Paulo was explaining to me, so I'm not a student, so I don't know. Paulo knows better. He explained to me, so he explained to me. So we're going to address that particular problem, and then we bring solutions on the table. Not slogans, solutions on the table. And we must lead that particular struggle. So, comrade, thank you very much. Yabule, Engos.
to our SG. I must say, ever since December, January came, February came, we're in March, there is fresh air in the ANC. Luthuli House, there is fresh air. We're very excited that the SG is a product of the Youth League, and we see it in his behavior, in how he supports the Youth League, but also how he is very responsive to issues. We ambushed him in a meeting on the NSFAS issue, and he is running with it. So we want to really commend the SG. We also want to say, SG, there's a lot of international work that is happening in this Youth League. In fact, Comrade Kulegani is the Deputy President of UC. And in our last working committee, we were having a heated discussion. We actually decided to abandon it on Russia-Ukraine. And we said we need more information. So we're planning to have a Lukuta where we'll discuss the energy crisis, youth unemployment and economic issues, elections. And then we said, let's get some information about the Ukraine situation. Perhaps we must also add Zimbabwe as well, so that we also get some insights on that. But I think, comrades, we want to bring the food because it's quite late. We want to bring the food so that we can eat. I had said perhaps we would be able to take 1 or 2 questions. But I think let's eat, and then let's see how the day goes, because it is quite late and the SG probably does have other engagements. I think we must also commend the SG for the donation, the pledge rather. It's not yet a donation. We commend him, we thank him. We want to encourage everybody else to do the same. Whilst you eat, we're going to show on the screens our information. When you donate, you're donating to the Youth League account. This money is going to the Youth League account for the activities of the Youth League. As our convener was saying, you're not donating to the convener or the coordinator or the fundraiser, you're donating to the Youth League. And myself, the convener and the coordinator will lead by example by starting in April our debit orders. And we want to encourage everybody. Crowdfunding. Comrade DRS, you are employed. There, Johannesburg, debit order. Comrade Nate, you make water. Black-owned company, you produce water. We will support you in future. But please, debit order. Comrade Dumisa, so many youth leaguers from all over the country who love the Youth League. All of us, it doesn't have to be a huge amount. A small amount each month from a lot of people goes a long way. So we also want to do some crowdfunding. And I think before we break for lunch, I want to thank the SG. I want to thank the NEC member, our former SG, Comrade Phoebe Borchita as well. I want to thank the NYTT Collective who is here. I want to thank the business people who have donated, former leaders of the Youth League, leaders of the ANC, our friends, our comrades. Please be patient with us. We want to ensure you that we are in earnest, trying our best to convene a national congress, and we will ensure that we do so. We apologize again that we turned it from a breakfast to a brunch, but we appreciate your patience. Bon appetit, and thank you very much. Amanda! Away, two! Roll, young lions, roll! Roll, young lions, roll! Come on.
charge. Master Smith. Oh, nyabona la ukuthi ngiyashuta.